Well, welcome to another edition of the We Talk Chelsea podcast, a podcast of three Sunday League playing friends united for a love of Chelsea Football Club. And it's just the two of us this week. Charlie is not available this week, and it is the £1 billion Bottlejobs strike again. Chelsea lose for the sixth Wembley final in a row. That's 6 losses, 3 of them to Liverpool, losing in this time. Couldn't even make it to penalties to try and lose there either for that 50-50 toss of a coin, and we lose to Klopp's kids. Timber.
Hello.
Oh, it is tedious being a Chelsea fan. I think especially in the last 2 years has been very, very difficult, hasn't it?
Yeah, I think we've enjoyed the very highs of football, and I think now we're enjoying not the very lows, but in terms of maybe a club of our stature falling down, we've experienced quite a big low. I think the only thing that's worse than this is probably relegation and, finishing right below the bottom three, because, if we look at Chelsea from 1997 till now, they hadn't finished less than 10th. The only time we finished less than 10th was 2015-16, and then obviously last season, and it looks like we're going to finish something again like that this season. So over the last 20 plus years, you could say we've had good fair share of moments, always been in the top 6, competing for trophies and stuff. But I don't know, I think yesterday just hurt on a different kind of level. I don't know if you feel the same.
Oh, absolutely. It was absolutely dreadful. I was very, very hopeful. When you look at the players that Liverpool had out in terms of first team ability, you look at, Trent was out, Salah was out, Nunez was out, all these players, Szoboszlai, all these players were out. And the game was there for the taking. We looked at the bench, we looked at it beforehand, and we're thinking, my word, look at Liverpool's bench. It doesn't compare in comparison to Chelsea, but the bench is where it all fell apart, really. I think when Klopp brought his kids on, it just goes to show the difference that having a well-drilled team has over investments in the team. But we'll delve into that a little bit later on. But we are live on YouTube at We Talk Chelsea Pod. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. We appreciate it. And we're live also on TKS TV. You're probably watching us here. Hello, please feel free to hit that subscribe button. But let's delve in a little bit deeper. Let's look at the starting lineups for that game itself. I think it was as expected, if I'm completely honest with yourself. Were you shocked that nobody else entered the frame? When we look at the lineups, it's pretty much the same it's been. It could have argued potentially to have some runners to go against Conor Bradley and the inexperienced Conor Bradley, but Raheem Sterling, just another player that didn't show up yesterday. It was such a bizarre game. Liverpool very much on the front foot very, very early on, but Chelsea just had those chances, but we just couldn't seem to capitalise, especially in the second half when we were really, really trying to put the pressure on. But it's just atrocious. It really was just atrocious.
I think you summed it up perfectly there. I think a lot of things went against us. I think Liverpool did play well. I thought overall they were the better team. Of course, we'll look at it from a Chelsea perspective on the chances we could have took. But I think equally, if they had scored with a couple of chances they had, I remember one Gakpo, I think from a couple of yards out, he blazed it over.
Post, yeah.
And he hit the post as well. I forgot about that one. And Diaz had a couple of chances as well. So I think it was a 50-50 game overall, but it's just gutting at a cup final because you need your big players to show up. And I think that's precisely what happened in terms of Liverpool player, because at the end of the day, they have the better experience. And it was a time to stand up and be counted, I suppose.
Yeah, and it's just if I'll bring up and I'll share my screen on this one here. You look at the bench that Chelsea had to work with in this game. I'm just trying to bring it all up here. We still had players that we could have brought on in the grand scheme of things. Alfie Gilchrist, I've expected to come on at some point. Just a bit
Mhm.
of a thought, but thought we might just go. Potts would have given the opportunity to do so. I think the thing that really annoyed me is the press conference afterwards in the interviews that Pochettino was having when he says the players were tired and they thought they had a better opportunity to win on penalties, which to me smells disgusting. We had in that second half, especially Liverpool were on the ropes, but as soon as extra time came in, it's like they had a second wind, and Chelsea just went to pot, didn't they? Like the heads just dropped. Playing for penalty, surely you shouldn't be doing that when you're in the ascendancy.
I'm not quite sure what happened there. I didn't quite understand the quotes. I'm not sure if it's something he had said to the players of how do you feel after 15 minutes, or it's an instruction he laid upon as soon as extra time went on. But the way we came out at extra time was completely disgraceful, in my opinion. Liverpool, came out the blocks really well, especially with the inexperience they had. I thought we would have attacked them more, but it looked like we sat off and couldn't handle quite the pressure. And also our lack of fitness, I think, really showed there, because we've completely slowed down our tempo, which I didn't understand at all. Um, and bringing Chalobah on, I suppose he thought that it would go to penalties, but again, I think we showed that we were quite, uh, you know, gettable at in terms of Liverpool could cut us open whenever they wanted. So
Yeah.
I didn't see the point of maybe risking penalties when you should just go and win the game.
Yeah, it was just bizarre. I mean, usually when we play Liverpool, we bring on Kaz, one of our friends here, but Kaz is unable to make it, so we're going to welcome Mo. Mo is Kaz's brother and willing to discuss it from a Liverpool perspective. Mo, I bet you're absolutely buzzing, aren't you?
I mean, to be honest, it sounds. I don't mean to sound big-headed, but like for me, I've watched like I'm much older than Kaz, so I've been watching like Carabao a few times. So it wasn't really like something that I was excited for. But once I got watching the game, it was something that I was like a bit like, wow, okay. It was quite exciting because you could see young players play against a more. I mean, I wouldn't say senior squad, but I mean more experienced squad.
Mhm.
But yeah, it was exciting at the time. It was quite nice. It's quite a nice feeling at the end, but. I do think that Chelsea get too much criticism in my opinion, because I don't know. It's like Liverpool. They've like had a team and a squad for a long time.
Yeah.
Mhm.
If you think about it, and Jurgen Klopp has been at the club for a very long time. So I think overall, like Chelsea's squad currently, it just needs more time maybe, and that's all it is. Realistically, I think Chelsea had the younger squad. I think I was watching early in Sky Sports, and they were doing like a squad comparison, and I'm pretty sure that Chelsea had a younger squad. I know you could say they've got the better players, but it seems they were inexperienced in their own way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When you saw the starting lineups, Mo, and you saw that obviously the list of injuries that you had, Mo Salah, Trent, Slobsly, Nunes, Allison, were you not thinking, oh, okay, well, we're here for the taking here? Were you not worried at all, or do you think in Klopp you trust?
Um, I mean, to be honest, it was a final, so I was a bit like anything can happen in a final. Like there's no, it could go either way really. There's no like exact, you know, outcome that you'll know from the whistle blowing. But I mean, I was concerned because obviously, like, as long as I mean Mo Salah, it was a bit iffy because we heard like rumors that there was injured. But I mean, I thought Nunes would at least start, but he didn't. And I came in with the like intention that okay, we're gonna somehow take it to like extra time and penalties, and we'll somehow win it there. That's the only way. But through like watching the game like from start, I was quite surprised as actually the way they approached the game. It was sort of like your usual Jurgen Klopp approach. It was more robust, and there was sort of like not holding back where I thought they would hold back
Yeah.
and not attack as much. I mean, there's certain players obviously not being there stop the attack from being at full flow, but I've seen signs of it, and some people turned up. Like on the day. Sometimes, Harvey Elliott, players like that, they don't normally turn up, but they turned up on the day. So yeah, it was interesting.
Did you not get a
Yeah.
little bit squeaky bummed in the second half? when Chelsea
Yeah,
were kind of bringing
I
into the game. It looks
I
like
thought we were,
the
I mean,
legs were dropping off on the Liverpool
yeah,
squad.
I can see that. I definitely see that. I was just waiting for the goal, like Chelsea to score any time, and I was just like, surely they're going to score. Especially when Gallagher hit the post, I thought, yeah, it's going to happen very soon. The pressure was mounting, but somehow they came out of it. It's like they dug it out and they went out of it. But I mean, there was controversy in it, as you know, and there's loads of stuff going on. But apart from that, it was a good game of a good final actually, like end to end. But bar all the criticisms and issues with it, I thought it was a really exciting game. It was a proper cup tie, I think.
Mm. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah, I just wanted to ask,
sorry,
like, yeah, sorry. With it being Chelsea Liverpool, it's always usually well, in the league, it's been a really dead game. But obviously, throughout the cups in the last few years, I think we played you in the Super Cup, that went to extra time. We played you in the FA Cup, that went to extra time. We played you in the Carabao Cup, that went to extra time. So this game seemed like it was going to extra time. But how do you think Klopp handled it from first half to the second half?
I'd say at the first half, he sort of like played it by, like taste, like sort of went for a taste out first. So like he was just seeing, drifting away, seeing how the game is going. And then the second half, he must have said, you know what, you guys, you don't go for it. I think that he didn't hold back, and he was like, you got nothing to lose, go for it. I mean, you've come so far, so you might as well. I think when he started seeing that us getting tired, I think that's when he must have thought, okay, we're still in it, and we're going next time, so there's a chance we can win it. So put some fresh legs on and see what they can do. I think Jurgen Plant, honestly speaking, because of the injuries, he didn't have much of a plan. But he in his head, he was like, we'll just play how we play. So it's a bit like Ange when he sometimes when he gets criticised by a lot of the press, where he's like, oh, about his defending. But I think Klopp sort of went with that approach where he thought, you know what, we're just going to go in and play as we do.
Yeah. I totally agree with that. And how did you think, young Bradley played, and also your other fullback, I forgot, Robertson? How do you think they pressed quite? I think they were the big reason why you won yesterday. If I'm being honest, I think you starting out Sterling and Chilwell on one side, and especially Bradley. As soon as we got the ball out wide, every single time he would press our winger and nick the ball right at the right exact time when that happened.
Yeah, definitely, because I thought he did quite well actually, because he had to change Bradley to a more offensive role after, and he did well there. I felt like there was more gaps for Chilwell after he got like sort of moved to more an offensive area. I thought Robertson's always consistent. I mean, in my opinion, Robertson's probably like the most consistent left back in the Premier League, and he's always been for years now, I think. But I mean, I think that was a key massive. I mean, obviously you got Van Dijk to drive them as well, to like guide them on the way. Because I seen like shaky moments with like Konate, where I thought Jackson did really well against Konate, in my opinion, because he had points where he was like sort of physically getting away from him. I thought he did really well, honestly. Like Jackson, I thought played a really good game, in fact. And I thought that it's the win backs, definitely, that probably won us the game, if I'm honest. Because again, like Tsimikas came on and he crossed the ball, didn't he? And he scored from the corner, but he's not a bad left back as well to have for cover. Not the best, but it was definitely a key. The fullbacks were definitely
solid.
key.
Yeah. One thing. Well, let's talk about the controversial decisions in this game. Obviously, there was a shout for red cards with Moises Caicedo on the injury to Ryan Gravenberch. I would argue that should have been a red. If we're hindsight on that situation, it probably should have been. I know the intention was to go for the ball. Temba, I'm not too sure where you sit on the fence. Do you have your Chelsea shirt on, or are you sitting an impartial eye on it?
I don't know. I could see it both ways. I think it's a bit of an orange card for me. I think if you're a referee, you're probably not looking to send a player off in the final. It's a big call to make, because you set the precedent there. I remember a decision back in 2010 or 11. It was Aston Villa versus Man United, and referee completely bottled it. First 5 minutes, he didn't send Vidic off for a last man tackle, and I think it was a sort of the same thing. It was quite early on in the game. I think it was about maybe 17th, 20th minute in the Caicedo challenge. And I thought he probably thought VAR thought it was accidental slip. From what I heard, it was an accidental slip onto his foot as he was trying to change direction. So maybe they gave him the benefit of the doubt, but in today's letter of the law, I think it probably is a red card.
Yeah. What do you reckon, Mo?
I'm sort of with Tem on this because I think in the day and age we're in, like a day and age, but I say more the ruling behind it. I think it probably was a red card, but I think it would have been harsh. I think it was a yellow, if I'm honest, because I mean, look, Curtis Jones had a similar situation against Tottenham and he got red
Yeah.
carded, and you could argue that point. But then again, he wasn't looking at the ball, if I'm honest, when he actually went in. And he sort of like his foot sort of guided himself in onto his foot. So I wouldn't say it's a red card. I mean, they should have probably went back to it and gave it as a yellow, but I think it'd be harsh if it was a red. Yeah, I'll probably say the same as Tem. Yeah.
I mean, the other decision as well is there was the Virgil van Dijk goal that was ruled out as well. Now, initially in open play, I thought, I'm going to go with impartial. I thought it was a bit harsh, but then in hindsight, when you look back at the situation, Endo is blocking off the run of Colwell, so he is deliberately impacting on play. I know there's a lot for raw amongst online Liverpool fans, Mo, but are you sitting on the side of they probably should have been a goal in that outset, or do you think it was the right call with hindsight and victory in your pocket as well?
I mean, in terms of ruling, again, I'll go by ruling. With the current situation with VAR, I think because like they say, like if someone blocks the keeper and it interferes in play when the shot comes in, it's somewhat similar to that, isn't it? Like he's sort of interfering in play. So if you be logical about it and the rule will go with the rule, I think it is. Yeah, it probably is. It wasn't a goal and it wouldn't be given because I think if you look carefully, Van Dijk I think sort of pulls him back as well, doesn't he? I think so. I think it's a pretty fair decision based on what's happening now. I was a bit baffled because I completely forgot in my head that VAR exists in the tournament because I know that it only exists till semi-finals and finals. So when it happened, I was like, it's a bit odd, because Casado was the first incident that was like sort of a VAR, check. Well, it wasn't checked, but it was something that I thought should have been checked. But then I thought, oh, maybe it's VAR not involved, but I think they are involved in the semis and final of the Carabao.
Yeah. And then obviously the other goal that was ruled out as well, Temba, was Sterling's goal. Probably would have changed the complexity of the game. I thought it was tricky when you think about this as Wembley Stadium, and I'm thinking of VAR. The angle of the camera that's used is bizarre. I'm not going to say this is all what's it called, a deliberate kind of like ploy conspiracy. I don't think so, but you'd think with a giant stadium, a stadium that was built, within the last 20 years, they'd be able to install cameras that run all the way along the side of the pitch. You could just follow and see it in a direct straight line. It was bizarre, but it was very, very close and absolutely could have changed the whole course of the game, couldn't it?
Well, there was actually an image on going around on Twitter, a Sky Sports image from a different angle. But this is the problem I have with sort of VAR's sort of stance on offsides, because they say it's when the foot. I'm not sure if it's when the foot touches the ball or the foot leaves the ball, but the frame that was shown was when the foot left the ball. I mean, when the ball left his foot, and it showed Jackson's knee offside. But on the freeze frame we saw, it looked like they were quite level. But then again, we didn't see it in a straight line. We only saw it from like a weird tele-broadcast angle. So from that sort of perspective, we weren't able to fully tell if he was offside. But looking from the other angle, it did look like his knee was slightly offside. However, I don't like goals being given out for that, whether it's for us or against us. I think we're just a bit more, bitter about it because it happened to us last year as well. I think Lukaku scored similarly in extra time, almost same decision. Although I think that one was onside, I think this one was offside. So a little bit hard done by, but then again, you could say Liverpool probably deserved a goal as well. But I think their performance definitely. It wouldn't have been fair for us to have got that goal, I think.
Yeah, and I think in the grand scheme of things, despite the XG, if you look at across here, how much weight you can put behind XG, but Liverpool obviously had the best start in the first half. Second half, Chelsea had a 1.56 XG to 0.42. And when we're talking about the drop off in extra time, 0.06 for Chelsea in the first half of the second. 0.06. These are players that basically just heads went completely, and I think we'll probably rant about that. But Mo, I greatly appreciate you joining us to give the Liverpool perspective on this. We appreciate you jumping on in lieu of Kaz. So I wish you the best of luck of the season, but I severely hope you don't win the quadruple because I can't take that.
Yeah, thank
Really
you,
can't
Mark.
take that. Thanks, Mo.
Thank you. Thanks, guys. Take care.
Oh, well. Timber.
Let's sum this up.
Do you know, I actually get really annoyed talking about Chelsea now.
Yeah, I'm the same. I am the
I get
same.
really annoyed about, and I appreciate there's people watching us now that is like watching for this very reason. But I get so frustrated watching Chelsea play football because we're so inconsistently consistent, and it is infuriating, especially in that first half of extra time. You'd think with all that momentum, with all those big chances created, chances created, three big chances missed. And then in the first half, the drop off, no chances, one shot on target from, you know, 15 yards out. It. Where is the mentality with these players? I don't understand it. And the whole Pochettino thing side of things, where they're talking about, they need to feel the pain. What has been the last 18 months been about? The last 18 months where they, have had their pants pulled down by Leeds, they've had their pants pulled down by Southampton, they've had the pants pulled down by multiple teams that aren't even in the Premier League. Like, I don't understand this mentality. We need to feel this pain. This is the sixth Wembley final in a row that Chelsea have lost. I know that it's a different squad compared to
Mhm,
the time
mhm,
before, but
mhm.
six in a row. Guess what? Record breakers. It is the record for the most finals lost at Wembley Stadium, and Chelsea have the delight of holding that. We're now 50% of the finals that we enter, we win. 50% we lose. It is. It speaks volumes about the mentality currently at Chelsea, doesn't it?
Completely. I think I saw this debate being had elsewhere, and it was a thing of who do you lean on in a final? Is it more the players or the manager? And I think it's 50-50. I think over the course of the season, it's 80%, 20%. I think in terms of a final, it's probably 60-40 because you can set up a game plan for one match, but then again, in any sort of final, even if you're doing bad, you need your leaders to stand up. I think that's what wins you finals. Um, Obviously,
And
managers'
do
tactics
you feel
can.
Chilwell? Did you feel Chilwell stepped up as a leader for Chelsea in that game? He almost got into an argy-bargy with Conor Bradley.
No, and I think a lot of people have been criticizing him about that, but I think it was just a failed ploy. I think, you know, in a game like this, you're trying to get every advantage, and it was a thing. I think you look at it from a player's perspective, he's just trying to wind people up so that he could try get in their head. Unfortunately for him, that didn't work out at all, and Liverpool players sort of rose above it, and you saw it with the experience of Van Dijk and Konate that it didn't look like Liverpool were ever going to stop coming at us, and they didn't almost give up, if you know what I mean. Whereas we looked like we were a bit perplexed the fact that we were still in the game, or we didn't actually score, and they just kept going as if like they knew like it was coming basically. And I think the crowd played a massive part. If you remember that second half, I couldn't hear anything from the Chelsea end, and I think Liverpool sort of galvanized that energy, which they have done for many years. It's part of their DNA of what makes them a, a big special club. To be honest, I hate to say, it, but it's true. Um, and that probably got some of their young players, a bit motivated to come on and show like bravery. We're gonna play like every other Liverpool player has been playing for the last 10 years or whatever it
Yeah.
is. And it was just a shame because, like you say, with those sort of manager comments, it doesn't help. Where do we go from here, sort of thing.
I mean, that's the season, really. It was an opportunity. It was a final.
Hmm.
Liverpool are in three other tournaments, really. I don't think the League Cup was probably high on their priorities really to win in the grand scheme of things. But this could have changed a lot of stuff for Chelsea in terms of how fans, how players view the club. Like it would have been seen as a small success. I mean, I think it was the first trophy that we won under Jose Mourinho, wasn't it? Back when he joined in the mid 2000s. It definitely kind of kickstart the Chelsea push to where that we were. Well, let's face it, where we were in the past. It is. It is completely night and day. I mean, we're still in the FA Cup. We got Leeds come to Stamford Bridge on Wednesday. We're still with an outside chance of making seventh or Conference League or something along those lines. Um, uh, but with West Ham, I think they're currently 4-1 up against Brentford. In and around us currently, so they're going to leapfrog back across over ourselves, or at least extend the gap away from us. What could be considered a success for Chelsea at this stage? Because at the moment, Pochettino's position, he's on a 2-year deal. I don't think he stays in the summer. I think he's gone. But but at the same time, I don't understand why you'd want to stay. Why would you? I don't. He hasn't really built that connection with the fans, really, has he?
No, no, and I think that sort of was probably why Chelsea fans were a bit quiet at Wembley. I think they need to see something for us to believe in at the end of the day. We need to know why we're supporting this team and why we should get behind them when, like you say, all season it's been completely inconsistent from the manager and the team. More so the manager, I would say, but because, he's the one who sets the tone for the team. But yeah, I think in terms of for him for the end of the season, I think it's best that, we part ways and start looking elsewhere, because I just don't see how this, sort of goes anywhere forward, really.
I just think it's untenable in the grand scheme of
Yeah,
things. Like,
yeah,
I don't even think he wants to be here. I really don't. I don't get that impression. I don't get that vibe that he wants to be here. He's like, yeah, we need to believe in the project, the long term project. But how can you believe in a long term project when the owners have only given you a 2-year deal? So they don't even fully really believe in what the vision that you're settling. But the problem is we're back to who do you bring in to replace him? And there's not many candidates out there that could be considered that I think we could even tempt to come to Chelsea. Obviously the obvious names at the moment is Xabi Alonso doing amazing things at Leverkusen, but Liverpool going to be without a manager in the summer, and guess where he might end up? His former club. Uh, unless Real Madrid decide to pull the trigger on Carlo Ancelotti and get rid of him and then hire Xabi Alonso instead. But there's not many managers out there that come in and take the helm with at Chelsea at the moment. I think all the top managers wouldn't want to come near Chelsea.
yeah. I was just gonna say to you, who do you potentially think would come in?
Maybe somebody like Ruben, um, what's
Almerin.
his name? Yeah, the guy from Sporting Lisbon, because I guess that's kind of a step up in the grand scheme of things. But I think if I'm his agent, yes, you can make a crap ton of money. But if it goes tits up, it could seriously damage your reputation in terms of especially like moving into like making that step up. It's gone very well. This Jose Mourinho joining from Porto, not so well with Villas Boas, let's face it. But we've had success previously coming from the Portuguese league, but maybe somebody of that ilk would be tempted by it. But I can't picture who it could realistically be. I just can't. Like, unless you give it to somebody that's never managed at a club before, like a coach level or something like that. If you give it to like John Terry, maybe you get the fans on side, but you don't know what he can
No,
do in the grand
no,
scheme of things.
no.
Like there's the obvious choice of Mourinho, but I think it's just that's a short term fix. That's basically kind of if there's a hole in the hull of the boat and you're just trying to put a plaster over it and it's just leaking gallons and gallons of liquid that's letting into the boat. That's just Jose Mourinho. It's just like there we go, hope for the best until he gets
Yeah.
sacked again.
So some
It's
good
just
gorilla or electric tape to cover the hole.
yeah.
I know what you mean, but I think with the way we're hiring people, I think it most looks set up for someone like Deserby, because
Great.
we
Yeah, maybe deserve it, but at the same time, it's again again, it's going to Brighton. It leads to that. Why didn't Bowley just buy Brighton if he's just going to replicate Brighton? Just buy them. He would have saved himself a crap ton of money. He wouldn't have to jump
Mhm.
through hoops with the government. He wouldn't have to jump through
Mhm.
hoops with Abramovich saying you got to stay here for 10 years. And
Mhm.
that's the issue. We've got Clearlake for the next 8 years. They can't
Exactly.
sell. They literally can't sell. We can't accept any offers. I don't even think they really want to be here. They're going to be here for the next 10 years, and then they'll sell Chelsea. They'll sell Chelsea once they can. I genuinely believe that. I don't think they've
I
got
don't.
any interest in renovating the stadium in the grand scheme of things.
Because I don't. Because obviously it's a consortium. I don't know if it forbids like other people joining that consortium. Say like if Riss was to share his his
Mm.
minority stake in the club, we're able to get maybe another shareholder in. Maybe he gets a bit more influence that way. I'm not sure. Obviously on business side of things,
Yeah,
but if that's something we could work around, maybe there's a silver
maybe
lining. Something
was a
of
minority owner, but the grand scheme of things, the minority owner we could add a majority owner in Jim Ratcliffe. But then he goes and buys. He's gone in and bought United, which is arguably, let's face it, a bigger club in the grand scheme of things.
Mhm.
Um, he's got the day-to-day operations and that, but you see his press conference is night and day compared to what Bowley is. At least this is a man that's, whilst he didn't have the best start with Nice, this is a man that does own a football club. He's aware of how to run one. Um, it's just it's bizarre, and I just think it's, I don't know. I'm very very tired of having the same conversation week in week out, especially when it's like so inconsistent. It's just back to moaning about the manager. They just can't seem to get anything right. They really really can't. And then the only people that really suffer in the grand scheme of things is the people that pay 60, 70 quid a week to go watch them at Stamford Bridge, or pay for their Sky subscription, or watch it dodgy on Fire Stick. They're the ones that really really suffer in the grand scheme of things.
Yeah,
It's
I
just
was just going to ask you actually. So going forward with the rest of the season, do you think really season over after that Carabao Cup, or are you looking
it,
forward to Wednesday? You think we could potentially get into Europe, or
The only
was
thing that the only thing that can rectify it is a European place. That's it.
hmm
That's the only thing. Whether it's you win the FA Cup or you win or you get seventh, and you hope that somebody in England. This is the fact. You're relying on Liverpool to win Europa League. That's what you're relying on, so we can get some better
coefficient?
coefficient. You're relying on City to go far in the Champions
Mhm.
League. That's what you're relying on. So there's a spot that can be opened up, and we can try and sneak in at seventh, or we win the FA Cup and we can sneak in that way. But I don't know. That has to be the end goal. And even then, will I consider the season a success? Not under Pochettino. We're in the same position as we were under Potter.
Yep.
Same amount of games, same amount of points. It's just the exact same. It's history repeating itself, and it is tedious, tedious, tedious. Okay, let's look forward to Wednesday. Like I said, Chelsea play host to Leeds United. I expect nothing from this team. Going into Wednesday, I think I'll be a much happier person if I don't expect us to win. So I'm just going to assume we lose every single game for the rest of the season, because it's the only way that I'm going to be happy. Because then if we lose, it's like, I expect it. If we win, it's like, oh, no trouble. But Leeds, they're flying high with Daniel Farke at the moment. Do you feel like there's something that Chelsea could probably get points? The return of Ethan Ampadu, the return of Patrick Bamford, former Chelsea players, to Stamford Bridge.
Yeah, I think it's perfectly set up for them to do a cup upset with the way the form we're in at the moment. I think we've shown to be the £1 billion bottle jobs, as Gary Neville well put.
Yep.
And we've got a bottle job of a manager at the moment. As much as I hate to say, I honestly thought yesterday was a chance to rectify that, especially with the way Liverpool's the team that they put out. I think it's just completely embarrassing. I'm still not over it. I won't be over it for many years. Um, but yeah, going into Wednesday, I think it's more of the same. Leeds, I think, are second or third in the league.
Yeah, second. They won the last 5 league games in a row, so they're in form. It's between them and Ipswich about who's probably going to go up in second place, unless there can be a late surge from Southampton. So
Yeah,
they're flying high.
and our players looked completely knackered completely knackered that during that extra time. I don't know how Liverpool got that second win. Like I say, I don't know if it was the fans, if it was Klopp, if it was their players being young, but it does beg the question: why did we look so off of it? You know. So again, I think it will be probably much of the same team tomorrow. Maybe Sanchez gets a chance now that it seems he's been
But,
relegated to number two.
but at the same time, like, why would you bring him in? Like, Petrovic had a great game against Liverpool in the grand scheme of things. There's nothing he could have done
Yeah.
about those goals. Even the disallowed, there's nothing. It's just a fantastic header both times from Van Dijk. Lazy marking from Chelsea players. I don't know. It's I don't expect anything. I fully expect Leeds to get something from this game. Whether we have to go back up to Ellen Road on a replay, which I absolutely can't stand the thought of,
Is
because
this the fourth
replays are
round?
ridiculous. Fifth round. I don't know why I went all West Country then. It's because I've been watching. Because I've been watching Broadchurch.
I don't know if let me just quickly Google. I don't know if they have fifth round replays anymore. Oh no, so they're scrapped. So it looks like this will be going to potentially extra time as well.
Oh, great. Excellent. Watch the hedge drops and play for penalties against Leeds.
No, yeah, I could fully see that happening as well. So, yeah, I think we're in for a long watch on Wednesday, depending on what happens, which Chelsea turn up. But yeah, I think it'll be much of the same team. I think the only change we might see Mudryk and Madueke come in. Maybe our midfield will obviously be the same. We don't have any fit midfielders.
I cannot wait for some central midfielders to be fit, because the three, like Gallagher, people were crapping on Gallagher for those missed chances, but Gallagher was the only one working his cock off. He really was. Like Caicedo, I just think was poor. Like, it's so bizarre seeing the fan base and reviewing like who had good games and who had terrible games, because most people are divided. I've seen some people say Caicedo had a fantastic game, and I'm like, did you
Wow.
watch the same game I did? And people say, oh, Enzo bossed that midfield. I was like, did you see the game that I did?
He was
You know,
sloppy.
he was so sloppy, so Gusto with some lovely stuff, but Gusto's first touches, it kind of looked like, especially with the age thing, the Asian kind of got to people. And the only one of the signings that looked like kind of really settled is even Cole Palmer was sort of off, like in the grand
Yeah.
scheme of things. You know, maybe Petrovic was probably the only one that I thought was the only one who kind of looked like he belonged. He could be. I thought he was good. I genuinely thought he was good. I think he's flown under the radar as being a very, very good signing. I truly believe he's probably the new number one in the grand scheme of things. He's just not a name that people know. But it'll be interesting to see. What do you think it's going to be? Chelsea win, Chelsea draw, Chelsea get their pants pulled down,
I
Patrick
think
Bamford scores a hat trick.
I think that one's definitely going to extra time. I don't see a Chelsea win in 90 minutes, and if it is, it's a very scrappy win. I mean, you look at our centre backs even yesterday. The amount of times Cole got away with quite a few. He did not close his Diaz down quick enough, because Diaz was able to get shots off quite well. He was lucky that none took a wild deflection off him. Same as Disasi on the ball, very, very sloppy. Yeah, like you say, Gusto. Chilwell, I thought he did well defensively. Going forward, he was non-existent.
Poor.
Yeah, but again, I think part of it is just how we build up. I think managers build up play is awful, and like you say, it's no surprise to me why all of these players look so bad, and they were so good at their respective clubs before.
I know.
It just screams to me it's bad management, bad recruitment, as well as management, and
it's bad recruitment. 100% bad recruitment. Like, I can't wait for players like Ugo Chukwu and Carney Chukwuemeka and Romeo Lavia to be fit, because there's options, so you can freshen that midfield up, because at the moment it's looking stale. And I hate the fact that I understand why you have to play Enzo. I understand why you have to pay Caicedo, because you pay 220 bastard million for two players, which we've overpaid for. We've been bent over a barrel for, and you can't drop them, because you have to justify. You spent that amount of money. You can't drop them. But if they're not performing, drop them. Just drop them. Like, if you got players fit, you got Lavia fit, you got those players. Give these players a chance. I know they're younger players, but you got to, because at the moment I'm not seeing the value. I'm not seeing the money spent. I'm not seeing a return on Chelsea's investment. maybe, Bowley decided, what, we've got to spend X amount on the playing squad because we've been contracted to do so. And I thought, I know, I'll just overpay for people and amortize it over 9 years because I'm a smart bastard. I don't know. It's ridiculous. It's crazy, but I think it's definitely going to go 90 minutes. If we get through, I reckon penalties, but I wouldn't be surprised if Leeds go there and nick something. And I think the
Yeah,
boos will resound loudly around Stamford Bridge. At which point, Poch he's a dead man walking in terms of his position at Chelsea and as a manager.
yeah. Two comments really. I just wanted to add on that apart about them buying players. I saw a report saying that basically they kind of went for broke to try sign as many players as possible because they were fearful of that ban.
Yep.
With the reporting of the accounts. So maybe that was a reason. Who knows? I just throwing out a theory there. And
Yeah.
next on your point about Poch being sacked, is there really a point now? I think season's over. Well, you could probably say we could get into Europe. Yeah, I agree with that, but I think too little, too late. If I think ideally, like how I wanted, I shouldn't really say it, but I think if we had lost to Aston Villa, that would have been the perfect time to sack him because that would have given us more of a chance to win the final. I didn't
Yep.
want him in charge against Liverpool in the final, and it degraded our chances to win. I think we all had a fear of us losing against Liverpool, a full strength Liverpool. But even with that depleted team, it's just embarrassing the fact that we lost that or didn't even score in 90 minutes. So yeah, like I say, if we lose on Wednesday, if he goes, does it make a difference to the rest of the season? I'm not so sure anymore.
Probably not. But then it's just, what's the
Mm,
point of watching the rest of the games?
yeah, yeah,
What's the
exactly.
point? What is the point? I feel bad. I feel bad for players or people, not players. I feel bad for fans that go week in, week out and subject themselves to that just for the love of
Hmm.
watching it. Like, it's tedious. It's absolutely tedious. Anyway, before we just probably best to clock off here, but this has been the We Talk Chelsea podcast. We usually do these at 9:30 on Monday. We'll probably review the Leeds game. I don't even know who we were playing at the weekend. I haven't even looked. I don't care.
Brentford, I
Um,
think, away.
Perfect. Brentford away. They're getting their pants pulled down by West Ham at the moment. So naturally, you know what that means.
2-1
Tony hat
Brentford.
trick. Absolutely. We're going to lose to Brentford. Neil Mopai is going to continue his goal scoring form. If you have found us this week, we're usually a lot more cheerful and upbeat, and that's usually me that does that. But we are on YouTube and we're also on TKS TV. We greatly appreciate if you join us. We'll see you all next week. Up the fucking Chels.
Yeah.